Woohoo! And we're live once again on another Tuesday. And I have an across the pond guest with me today. I have Danny Bermant, who is coming in from London. Captain JV is his company name, which is such a cool company name. I love it. It sounds like a superhero. So maybe you're a superhero, and we're going to see you in action today, Danny. So it's great. So before we get stuck in with our topic, can you please just go ahead and tell people who you are and what you do, and then we'll start chatting.
Yeah, firstly, Gillian, thank you so much for having me on the show. So what I do is I help coaches and consultants to basically attract their ideal clients through joint venture partnerships.
Awesome. That's nice and short and to the point. So that's great. So what we're talking about today is the importance of building an email list. And people might say, what does that have to do with being on LinkedIn? It has a lot to do with being on LinkedIn, because if you're a professional and you're trying to grow your business, and an email list is amazing. And as we know, LinkedIn has newsletters where people are notified by email. But Danny, I'm hoping that we can talk about sort of the pros and cons of you don't want to just put all your eggs in one basket and do those kind of emails. We're talking about an email list that you build outside of LinkedIn. So why don't we just start off with that as the first go round? You use it in how you coach and joint venture partners. So what are some of the reasons why we want an email list in the first place?
So email has been around for decades, but it's still the most powerful channel. It's a channel that you own. I love LinkedIn. I use it to basically stay top of mind with my audience. I use it to educate my audience, but I always value having a channel that I own. And with email, if somebody subscribes to your channel, to your email list, you own them. And email continues to be the most highly engaged type of media that you can use. We see, and actually the partners I work with, we see open rates of 30%, 30, 35%, click-through rates of 2 to 3%. And that compares very, very favorably with our other channels. If you want to get a message through to people and be absolutely sure that people are seeing it, you've got a much higher likelihood of being seen on email than anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing I think is so relevant about an email list is that you can broadcast, you can do all sorts of different things. You can segment your lists and do things. And that's something that you can't do on LinkedIn. Plus, I like how you talked about you own your list when it's outside of LinkedIn. We don't own our list inside of LinkedIn because Mick Adam, I want to give Mick Adam a shout. I don't know if you're connected, but you should be connected to Mick Adam, Danny, or anybody else listening, because Mick Adam just he did a fabulous article just, I think it was about a week or so ago. And he actually got tossed off LinkedIn, which happens to a lot of people. You just get shut out of your account for whatever reason. And then all of your contacts are gone because you are building your list on rented space and it's not your own. And that can be quite frightening because in an instant, your business could be totally over. So Dan, and by the way, I'll put that link of Mick's article in here because it's a great article. Everybody should really, read that article. But Danny, so how do we have our email list. I have an email newsletter. I believe you have an email newsletter. So you still do that on LinkedIn, correct?
Correct. I have a LinkedIn newsletter that goes out, and that also goes out to my email list.
Okay, great. So if somebody already has built a newsletter on LinkedIn, should we build an email list and then just take that same thing and pop it out? Or should we be doing different content? Like, how do we manage this and do what we're doing on LinkedIn?
So your email list works slightly differently because it might be, an email newsletter will go out maybe once a week or once a month. Whereas with your email list, you are having a regular conversation with your audience. It's a lot more intimate. So you're going to be using slightly different language. So you're going to, for example, with an email list, you might ask people questions and say, today I'm talking about how challenging it can be to sell. Have any of you found it difficult to sell? Hit reply and tell me about it, right? You wouldn't be able to say that on a social media channel because people don't hit reply. They'd be posting in the comments. Or you might be sending an email that follows up from something you said before. There's often with email marketing, there is almost like chapters. You're having an ongoing conversation over a number of emails. It doesn't work quite the same way with social media. So yes, the language that you would be using would be slightly different with an email.
Mm, mm. And I have to tell you, that was just a big aha for me, a bit of a paradigm shift. And I think it might be for other people too, in that I think we just think of email as broadcasting out. It's just like I'm throwing out information at you, pretty much just buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And yeah, I get a lot of those emails.
Right.
Having an email, having email marketing be a conversation is a new concept for me that you would actually. So do people do that? Do they hit reply and then get in a conversation with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the beauty of email. There's a level of intimacy that you have with people when you're emailing them regularly. And what you often see with emails there is some storytelling. A lot of the emails that I get, the emails I send, what will happen is I'll be sharing a story. So, for example, I'll be talking about an experience I had in a shop purchasing something, or I'll talk about a meeting I had with a client, and then I'll talk about a lesson that you can learn from that. And yeah, and people reply to that. And that email has got a bad name because exactly that's what people do. They push offers through all the time. But actually, the way to use email is actually it's a courtship rather than a marriage proposal. You get people onto your email list. You nurture them by basically sharing experiences, telling stories, sharing case studies, teaching your audience lessons, and then getting to a point where they feel comfortable with you, they know you, they like you, they trust you, and then you can start to share an offer with them. That's what you should be doing with email. But a lot of people don't, they're not experienced with email, so they think, well, why would I email people? I'm going to be scaring them away.
Definitely, definitely. So when we talk about building an email list, we have to, most of us
Yeah.
are starting from scratch. We don't want to just go out and buy a list. I know
Yeah.
some people do that, which is horrible. So how do we build a list ethically? Because I know a lot of times people just go scrape my email address from LinkedIn. They see it on my contact information. And it's like, I didn't ask to be on your list. It's got nothing to do with what I'm interested in. And I kind of don't like that. So what is some ethical ways to build an email list?
So an ethical way to build an email list is to collaborate with other experts where you complement what they do, they complement what you do. So, for example, I specialize in joint ventures. I will have partners who might specialize in copywriting, or I've collaborated with people who are experts in email marketing or Instagram. And they tell their audience, Instagram, for example, Instagram is great, but you need to do this too. So they tell their audience about a webinar I've got coming up, and people will opt into my email list to watch my webinar. And so that's where joint venture partnerships are really important, because you have lots and lots of other businesses who would be very interested in telling their audience about you. Not because you're selling something to their audience, but you're offering them something. You're offering them some value in advance. You're teaching them something. And if you have something to teach or something to share that will help them, people are happy to share that with their audience.
That's interesting. And to be honest with you, I've never really done any joint venture partnerships. So I don't know very much about it. And I would imagine a lot of people in my audience don't know very much about this. So
Yeah.
how do we find these partners to collaborate with?
Well, start off by looking at the people in your own LinkedIn network. Who are some of the experts you're already seeing on LinkedIn who you either work with, engage with, follow, right? Do you see people in your feed where you really value what they do? And if
Mm,
so, do they have an email list,
mm,
right? Or if you can't find it, reach out to them and have a chat with them.
mm,
You'll
mm,
be surprised at the number of other businesses who are actually involved in collaborations. There's also some really great places where you can go to find other partners. So there are websites like the jvdirectory.com, which is the
mm,
joint venture directory where you can find partners. There's also a great website called eventraptor.com, where you can collect and connect to lots of other experts and speakers and authors who would love to collaborate with you, who have email lists. I think this is also a good time to explain why email, where does email differ from social media? So,
Yes.
in terms of how I use LinkedIn, I use it as a place to educate my audience. I use it as a place to build thought leadership, and to stay top of mind with with people who buy from me. But if I want people to actually opt into my list, if I was to share, let's give an example. I've got a webinar coming up in August. I can post that on LinkedIn. I've got 5,000 plus contacts, so I can share that, and that will get a few opt-ins. But if I ask a joint venture partner who's got several thousand people on their email list to tell their audience about me, I could get dozens or even hundreds of opt-ins. And I've had joint venture partners who have sent hundreds of people to my email list. Once they're on my email list, I can build an intimate relationship with them. So social media channels are great for raising awareness, educating your audience, telling people about things that are coming up. But if you want somebody to actually take the action of actually going to a website, entering their email address and signing up to something, you're going to get better results with email. Obviously, you've got people you can share an event on LinkedIn and you can tell all your LinkedIn contacts about it, but you'll generally get a higher opt-in rate with email. So that's why I think having an email list is so important.
And I can see that because I know I've seen a lot of people who advertise their webinars and they just really don't get a lot of engagements on those posts. There's, you have people will be
Yeah,
kind of like a few likes, but it's not the same as when you're just, out sharing about, okay, this is what, what's going on and or a video or,
yeah,
something like that. It's kind of like, as soon as we see a webinar, we all kind of stand back and don't really
yeah.
want to be involved.
Yeah, but with email, you've just got a lot more touch points.
Mm,
With a social media channel, people will see your content, but they'll see your content when they choose to log in, when they choose to go to the social media channel. They'll see you, they'll interact with you. With when you get to someone's inbox, you can get in front of someone on a much more frequent basis.
mm.
I have about 35 to 40% of people open my emails. So the people on my list, they get my content, they open my content, they engage with it.
I like that. I like that. So when you're doing things that like if you're building an email list and you give an offer, a lot of people do that. They'll give like a free course or a free something or other just to
Yeah.
start their email list growing. Are there some things that you recommend that it's like this does well, but this like that's not really going to do it? Or do you not even bother having any gated content? Do you just say, hey, why don't you just get on my list?
So yeah, no. In order to get people on your email list, you need to give people a reason to join your list. And just having a subscribe to my email list, you'll get very few subscriptions. What you need to do is actually give people something really valuable that they need that helps them to solve the problem. So it may be that let's just say you're an expert on how to get speaking engagements. So what you might give people is you might give them an ebook on like, these are the steps you need to take to get in front of the right speaking opportunities. You might give them a checklist that they can download. Like, these are the things you need to do before you get a speaking gig. Or you could be running a webinar, right? Which could be really about like, this is the magic, if you like. This is the secret sauce. You want to get speaking gigs. This is the secret sauce you need to choose. I think that, so obviously you'll get probably the highest level of signups with a freebie where people can just opt in and download something. If you do a webinar, you won't get as many people showing up for something, so you get 100 people who will sign up for something and 25% or 30% of those might opt into the webinar. However, if they come to the webinar, there's a level of intimacy where they're having a lot of contact with you. So you have a much stronger opportunity of selling to them. Someone opts into your list, however, you also have the ability to email them regularly and build a relationship with them. But the point is, once they're on your email list, until they come to them when they unsubscribe, as long as they're a subscriber, you have the ability to communicate with them. And I think that's the important thing.
I love that. I love that. Well, let's hop over and see if we have people who are joining us today. So we have Jeff Young. He says, email is not as old school as some folks might think. Great topic, Jillian and Danny. Namaste. And I think, basically he's saying it's the thing that we still need to be doing. It's like people think, oh, it's in the past. No,
It's not sexy, email. That's why, that's what people think. It's not sexy. And I think the mistake people also make is they get not very good emails from people. So they go, oh, I really don't like getting these emails. I unsubscribe from them. Why should I do the same for other people? But it's like anything. If you're bad at social media, that doesn't mean that social media is bad, right? It's like anything. There's writing good emails and writing bad emails.
And as you say, there's probably a whole art to writing those emails. And I know I like people that get to the point. The shorter the email marketing is, the more likely I am to stay on your list, because if you get to the point, and some that just go on and on and on, it's like, okay, I can't be bothered anymore. But some people, it's a true art of copywriting, so that's good.
It's a true art. It's an art, and I think it's partly about understanding your audience. What does your audience respond to? I know people who write short, impactful emails that do very well. I also know people who write longer storytelling type emails, which do very well as well. But it's knowing your audience and what they respond to.
And it's interesting. I saw a storytelling email the other day, and it was a gentleman, and he was talking about some frustrations with publishing his book and what he went through. And I was so engrossed in the story that I just kept reading and reading and reading. And the very end, he said, and I'm, my book is out for 99 cents. And it's like, I just clicked and bought it. It was like, I had invested all my time in, following his story, that the sale was so easy. But if he had said, here's my book, I'm trying to sell it for 99 cents, I might not have been as, quick to buy it, because he drew me in, and I wanted to see, how did the story end? I got to read the book now.
Precisely.
Very well done. Very well done. And Jeff says, this is a live joint venture that will pay dividends immediately. And I do afterwards want to make sure that I understand how the joint venture works, because that is a new concept to me. And I think some of the people in my audience as well. So Jeremy, who is also across the pond, says, hi, Danny. Danny and I have grown up together for many years. He was at the same school as me. Nice to see him as a guest. So it's kind of fun when people actually see each other. And I guess you also saw each other at Uplift Live, which is where Danny and I first got connected, was through Uplift Live. So that's great. Laura says, when we have our own email list, our businesses won't become fully dependent on someone else's platform. And like you said, Danny, you own it. And the immediacy of, like, if you want to send something to people right now, you can do that. And our inboxes, we're always going to our inboxes. I'm checking my email all day long. I don't just go in once a day. Whereas LinkedIn, maybe I do. I actually go to LinkedIn quite a lot. But with LinkedIn, you're also battling an algorithm. And so you could have a post that goes out, but if LinkedIn doesn't show it to people, then what are you going to do? But your email, it always lands in that inbox no matter what, right?
Correct.
So very, very, very important. And Laura says, love this differentiation between emails and social media part, especially the courtship strategy. So what you're saying is hitting home, Danny. So that's really good. And Jeff says, opt is a key term. I hate it when I get added to an email list that I didn't say yes to. And I'm the same way. Don't just grab my name and, throw me on your list. And it should be permission-based marketing.
Correct. It's all about permission.
Yes, absolutely. Amen to that. So Danny, when we're talking about permission-based marketing, you're in the UK versus I'm in the United States. And so we actually can get away with a lot more stuff here. We shouldn't, but we can. But you have to work within, is it GDPR? You have to work within those constraints?
It doesn't really affect I'm not really affected by GDPR. My market is primarily the US.
Oh, okay. So that's a different thing.
Yeah, and the rules that apply with business communication are slightly different to personal communication. But the important rule is always that you don't the people opt into your email list, and you have to make it very clear when they opt in that it's permission based, that when they get emails from you, there needs to be an unsubscribe link at the bottom. They need to have the ability to unsubscribe at any time. And even when you are emailing, you need to be polite to people. You need to uh, it's the tone that you need to use is that you're inviting people, you're sharing things with people. Would you like help with that? You know,
Mm.
it's thinking very carefully how you talk to people.
So let me just ask you, when you have like hit reply, so do you reply, or do you have VAs? Like, how do you handle that? Do you
I
personally reply?
I personally, yeah, I personally reply to people.
Wow,
Uh,
wow. And
and,
and
um,
and people, are they surprised?
Oh, I think people treat the email like it's a personal email. I think people
Mm,
understand it's automated, but the way it's written, it's a style of writing where people feel that you are engaging with them, so they feel comfortable replying to you. And I think that the more you reply to people, the more they then get used to replying to future emails of yours as well.
right. No, that makes sense. So can I ask you a little bit about joint venture partners? Because I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I don't really know how it works. Is it really just kind of collaborating together, of finding people, like you said before, with maybe you're not necessarily competitors, maybe you offer complementary services that would work well together, and like you said, one author is the same as another author. You can both help people, or if you were marketing coaching, somebody's a video coach, somebody is a email marketing coach, that kind of goes well together.
That goes extra, yes. That's the sort of thing. And the way you collaborate can work in a few ways. So you might run a co-hosted session, right? You might
Mm,
might run a webinar together that you both promote. That's one way you can work together. Or you might create what's known as a summit. So you might create an event where you have a number of people speaking at the event, and
mhm,
everyone who is speaking at the event does their bit to promote it, and everyone benefits because everybody gets access to the email list.
mm,
It could be something where you're both running complementary events. So I'm running an event on how to basically get results from email marketing, and you might be running an event on how to get success from video marketing. I tell my audience about your event, and you tell your audience about mine.
wow. So are there any tips you would give us, of, if you're going to work with somebody, I would assume that you have a way of choosing who is better for you to work with. Can you give us a couple of tips on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's three key things that you need to look at. The first thing is that the program that they offer. Does the program that they offer complement yours? And it can complement yours in a number of ways. It could be that it's that you're teaching a particular discipline, and they're teaching a discipline that's that's different from yours, like we talked about email marketing uh, and video
Video
marketing.
marketing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it may also be that what you do is a downstream or an upstream offer, which means that you teach something, and then when people finish your program, they might go on to someone else's program. So I might be teaching a program there where I help businesses to get to six figures, and then you are running a program for six-figure businesses. So it may be that actually people who have graduated from my program would be a very good fit for yours. You
Mm,
may also have people who are not ready for your program who come on my program.
mm,
So it's looking at how do you fit with each other. The second thing you have to look at is your audiences, or your audiences are fit for each other. Everybody has an avatar, which means you have a particular type of personality you attract. It may be that you're attracting business owners in their 20s and 30s. They've been in business for 2 years. They're trying to get to six figures. They want to make a big difference in the world, and so on. So you need to really dig a bit into who are the audience that your potential partner serves. Does the problems they're grappling with, the problems they're trying to solve, the people they are, does it sound like you are serving similar people,
mm,
right? And then the third thing is, how do you feel about working together? Does what they do, does the way they work, does the way they sell, does the way their program structured feel like something that your audience would benefit from? So
mm,
if you feel that they have a complementary program, complementary audience, and also the way they work, and they as people, you feel comfortable working with them as people, that's really important. You need to actually like each other. There are people I've met with where I feel they're very transactional, and it doesn't work for me because I'm not interested in transactional people. I'm interested in long-term partnerships. So yeah, if there's basically a product fit, an audience fit, and a personality fit, then it's really worth taking further.
I like that. So probably it's a really good idea to maybe even, vet people, get to do a Zoom with them, just make sure that you're a good fit for each other before
You need to
you.
do some due diligence. People
Mm,
people are often in a hurry to partner with each other without doing enough background checks. I mean, for example, I'd say if someone is promoting a webinar that they want you to promote, actually ask them, can you take a look at what they're offering, and
mm,
is this a fit?
mm,
I've had people offer to promote something, and when they see the webinar, they say, "Oh, I really don't like this webinar. It's going to be off-putting for my audience. I don't like the style. I don't like the message, and so on." So, even say, "Have you run this webinar before? Can I watch a replay so I can make sure
mm.
this is actually a fit for each other?"
Mm, mm. And then do you find that once people become joint venture partners, they usually is it sort of one and done, or do you find that maybe once a year they kind of come forward and do something else together? Like, is it sort of an ongoing relationship, or is it more
So,
one and
so
done?
no, that's the beauty of joint ventures. I think it's a really good partnership if your email lists respond really well to each other, your audiences respond to each other. It's a rinse and repeat relationship.
Mm.
I see partnerships where we are collaborating at least once a year, sometimes twice a year together.
Mm, that's good. That's good. And then this is kind of a technical question, but are there some email marketing programs, that you recommend versus others? Because I think that's sometime a stumbling block for people getting cracking on an email list. It's like, oh, should I be using Constant Contacts or ConvertKit or Aweber?
Sure.
Which one does it matter?
Yeah, I would say start off with MailChimp.
Okay.
Yeah, MailChimp is great. It's really user friendly. It's a really great system to start off with.
Okay.
And it's compatible. It interfaces with other systems. Like if you want people to go to a landing page and sign up for something, it's really easy to interface with MailChimp, so that anyone who signs up to a webinar or whatever then goes onto your MailChimp list.
Okay. No, that sounds good. And then a lot like with webinars and stuff, do you find that it doesn't necessarily matter that people can't make it at a specific date and time? It's really about they could watch the replay. Like, is that important so that you are continuing to grow the relationship by offering recordings afterwards with webinars?
Absolutely. Yes, I do offer. People do expect to replay, uh, and, uh, and actually, even people who come to the webinar will often want to go back to the replay and rewatch it. So yeah, I would
Okay.
recommend doing that.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And let me see if we have a few more comments. So we have Andy, storytelling and connecting with people on that is next level. Hut Denim, how you Denim are an amazing example of this done brilliantly. I don't know who that is,
I'll
but
take a look at that.
that's great that you said
Yeah.
that, Andy. Laura, oh, I guess there was a question I missed. Laura Doman, great question. Is there a formula you follow to balance value info to email subscribers versus invitations to explore doing business together? So,
Yeah, I'd say at least 2/3 to 3/4 of what I send down is nurturing content, and about, you know, yeah, it's between a third to a quarter of what I send is actually promotional.
okay, okay,
And even when I'm sending what it's promotional, there'll be often a quite strong emphasis on teaching people something and then segueing at the end of the email to an offer.
okay, okay, that's good. And then do you find that you have multiple lists, Danny? Like, do you have like these are like I know that's an advanced email marketing technique where people say, okay, I don't want to hear about this offer anymore, but I still want to stay on your list. Do we need to
Yeah.
be thinking about that too?
Do I have multiple lists? No, I have one email list, but what you can do is you can segment your list.
Okay.
And that will get more engagement. So it may be that you have audience there might be a particular service you're offering, and you can put out a survey, you can put out a quiz to your audience. And it might be, for example, it may be that you're serving two types of businesses. You might be serving businesses that are doing less than $100,000 and more than $100,000. Those two types of avatar will experience different challenges with their business. So
Mm,
you could segment them and be sending them different types of messages.
okay.
Or the other thing is you could be noticing that there's some people who don't open your emails as often. So
Mm,
you could segment your list to basically focus on the people who open your emails frequently. You send them emails more often. the ones you don't open your emails as often, you put them in a separate bucket and email them less frequently.
Okay.
And that obviously will get you better open rates altogether, because the software, email marketing software, will notice that there's a segment where there's a high open rate, and it will perform better.
So it really sounds that if you're going to do this, pay attention to your analytics, pay attention to your open rates, your click-through rates, and all those different things. It's a really big, it's a really big thing. So go in with your eyes wide open, and again,
Yeah.
experiment, find out what works, what doesn't work, and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So we've reached the end of our 30 minutes. And it always goes by rather fast. And so I'd like to just ask you, before we end our show today, is there kind of any final words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us with before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing that that I would start doing is start networking, start taking a look around your LinkedIn network, see on your network who is sharing really interesting material, where you like them, you follow them, you find what their stuff is interesting, you think it's something your audience would benefit. Why not reach out and have a chat to them?
I like that. That's great. Well, Danny, thank you very much for coming on the show today. I think you provided a wealth of information. This was really, really great. I encourage everybody, reach out, follow Danny. Are you open to connections? Can people connect with you, or do you just like to
Absolutely,
follow? Okay.
absolutely. Always open to connections on LinkedIn.
Okay.
That's where I'm very active.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And thank you very much. And we'll see you guys all next time. Okay. Bye, everybody.